Today's episode of the Status Escalate podcast is brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/SEP to get a free audiobook and a 30-day free trial. There's over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Droid, or Kindle. Just go to audibletrial.com/SEP and discover what millions already have. Now let's get to the show. What's going on? It's your man Kahlee with another episode of the Status Escalate podcast, the music business show where I speak with entrepreneurs of all sorts to get into their minds and discuss strategies to their success, giving you ideas, inspiration, and the confidence to plan and execute your next moves. Before we get started, I want to send big shouts to everybody subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show. I really appreciate your support. Every time you leave the show that 5-star rating, a review, share a post, retweet, or tell a friend, it's a huge help, man. So again, thanks. Now let's get to my talk with my man Brent Bee Hive Campbell.
I put in work and watch my status escalate.
Hey, what's going on? This is Brent Campbell. I'm a marketing technologist and a digital strategist. And some of you may also know me as BeeHive, the beatboxer, because I like to rock mics like every once in a while, you know?
Every once in a while. That's what it is. Yep. Yeah, man.
What's going on, Kahlee?
Man, just over here. I'm happy to finally get you on the show, you know?
Oh, thank you, man.
I'm glad, you know, we don't get to chop it up so often. So kind of doing these kinds of talks is always cool with, you know, when I get to have a homie as a guest or be a guest on a homie's podcast and things like that. We get to chop it up about, you know, things that we like to talk about anyways. This is one of those situations, man. And like, to me, you're interesting character. You know what I mean? Like you're one of those people, like we'll be hanging out, we'll do something and you'll be like, yeah, I used to do this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? You used to like do this? You used to like play the accordion or some crazy stuff? Yeah, like I was in like this accordion band or some crazy. And you'll tell, and I'll be like, what? So like, you're definitely, you know, not a lot of people have experienced many different things. And I know that you're somebody who has experienced a lot of different types of life. And can you tell us like, you know, where you're from and, you know, now you're San Diego and I know you weren't originally from here. Maybe you could kind of take us how you got here.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you, man. There's just a lot of really interesting stuff going on in this world. So it's hard to just do one thing for me because there's so many neat things going on.
Yeah.
So let's see. I mean, I've lived all over the U.S., man, I've lived in Kansas, Texas, you know, different parts of Cali, out in Virginia, New York City, you know, Jersey. I moved out here from Brooklyn in '99. And, so I've kind of lived all over the place. But I've lived in San Diego longer than anywhere else. And it's my home, man. It's the place that I love to stay, you know.
What took you to so many different places?
Well, okay, so when I was really young, you know, my parents moved a lot. My mom had a lot of jobs that had to go from one place to another. And so, so we ended up moving a lot because of my parents, basically. And to be honest with you, at the time, I didn't like it too much because every time I went to a new school, you know, I get new friends. And then like a couple of years later, it's like, boom, we're going. So when I was growing up, it was kind of rough. But looking back on it, I actually learned a lot of good things from that. And it taught me how to be cool with being uncomfortable, you know, and not knowing anyone and kind of like meeting people because I had to make friends over and over again. So it was helpful. I think it kind of helped bring out part of my personality where I feel comfortable going to places where I don't know a lot of people and just kind of meeting people. So
like that's your way of like you learned how to I don't think this is a negative thing, but kind of learned how to make friends and be accepted in short periods of time because you may not be there for too much longer.
Yeah, and you know, like, yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a trip, man. So let's dive into this music side of things because I know we're going to get to some other stuff. What is your history in music and like, kind of where you started and take us through to where you're at right now as a beatboxer and part of the hip hop community and whatever you would consider what you do with the, the foot pedals and whatnot.
Well, so there's been a continuous, evolution of sorts. And so when I was really young, my uncle was like a drummer. He like, paid his way through college, or at least part of it through drumming. And so when I was really young, I kind of got influenced by him. He used to, like pat on my head, and my mom would be like, "What are you doing to my son?" And he was like, "I'm teaching him rhythm," And so, like, I got my first little toy drum set when I was hella young. I don't know how old I was, and it wasn't like, a really fancy drum set or anything, but I beat the heck out of that. And I liked music a lot. And I used to beatbox along with stuff that I'd hear on the radio. I didn't really, at the time, I didn't realize that's called beatboxing. What you're doing, it's just like something that felt natural, like making my own rhythms up with my mouth when I didn't have drums around. And that kind of, continued. I was lucky enough to get to go to schools where they had good band programs and play the drums. I kept playing the drums throughout school, even in high school. I've been in several bands outside of school as well. And so that's kind of like part of the original start of it, was with the drums. And then beatboxing is something that I didn't really take it very seriously at all until much later in life. I think I was in college really before I started, I knew that I could beatbox. Like a lot of people would ask me to beatbox. So I knew people liked listening to me kick beats, but it was like after I had already graduated college and kind of was like just looking around on the internet, finding out what's going on. And then, I started seeing all these other people doing stuff that was really cool, and just got more and more involved in different scenes. Spent a lot of time on sidewalks, ciphers, and just kicking beats outside of shows that were going on. And then I like to play around on other instruments, like harmonicas or, whatever I can get my hands on. I went to Hawaii, got a little ukulele, play around on that song, whatever I can get my hands on. I normally play in kind of a percussive way. Yeah, man, I just love music. So that's kind of how I got started.
And it was always on some hip hop stuff once you got into the beatboxing? More hip hop than other stuff, but I've always been pretty heavily influenced by all kinds of music. Like when I was in high school, I was in a band called Community, and we were a straight up punk band. But I've also played, lots of other kind of music too, like funkier style stuff. In college, I was in a group called Precious Tea. We played like a little bit more funky style music. And then, I've always been mostly influenced by the hip hop side of things, but I've been in all kinds of music. And then when I came out to Kahlee, I was in a group called Matter of Facts, and I was in another group called Tribunal, and just been doing kind of hip hop mostly out, when I'm out beatboxing and stuff. That's usually the kind of music that I'm performing nowadays. When I met you. And then you mentioned the pedals. Oh, yeah.
So the pedals, that was actually a lot of fun when I got the pedals, because I could connect like other things and start making more music, not just beatbox. I mean, not like beatboxing's not music, because it is. But once you add other kind of instruments to it, you can get a more full sound. So the pedals give me a chance to like layer things. Like I can layer some bass lines and some guitar riffs and stuff before I go to the show, so I can have some loops already ready to go.
For anybody who
cool.
doesn't understand what we're talking about with the pedals, basically what you do with whatever instruments, including your beatbox, you're creating a beat live on stage, like, set it, and you record that, and now that's running. Now you could record a new sound over it, and it's just the same way people record in the studio, except you're doing it live in front of people, sometimes with a guitar, harmonica, and then you start singing or rapping or rocking your song that you create, and it's dope, man. It's a sight for sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think that's fresh.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I had a lot of fun doing it. So it's kind of a mix though of the tracks, because there are some tracks where from beginning to end, it's 100% generated live on stage. There are some tracks that are like that, but then I also have some tracks where I have pre-recorded samples that I put together that I trigger on stage. Because originally, the first time I came out with the pedals, actually, I was doing a show. I had the guitar, the bass, the keyboard, the pedals, my beatboxing, and I might have brought a harmonica. But anyways, that was kind of like the setup. And so to build a song live, like with the loop pedals with that, you put down a beat, and then you go over to pick up the bass, and then, you put the bass on, and then you hit the pedal again. By the time you do all that, you build the song, it takes so long for the song to get built that it's just too much of an intro. So that's why I decided, you know what, I just have, when it's one of those songs where I need guitars and stuff, I just pre-loop it so that I don't have to recreate it all live.
Yeah. Because the live creation is part of the show, but that doesn't mean that people want to sit there for a half hour while you create something.
Exactly.
Because even me as an
people
MC,
want you to get to it.
Yeah, even me, I'm like my producer. It ain't a live show, but I'm in the lab with my producer, and I'm just like, all right, man, I'm about to go watch some TV. I'll be back in a minute. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to sit here through this. I just want to hear the end result. But seeing your performance on stage, and I've seen other people do similar things and kind of just create. It's really dope, man. And like you said, you go up there and you have fun, and I feel the vibe. You can feel the vibe of the person who's rocking. I've seen people who aren't really that good at whatever their craft is, if they even see it as a craft, but they go up there and they have fun, and it's genuine, and I'd much rather, experience that than somebody who's like a good rapper or a good singer, but it's clear it's not coming from a good place, So I think when it is good and the quality of the music is good, and then it's genuine, and you could feel that person is up there just really having fun, it's infectious. You know what I mean? You feel the same way. I think that was what was the dope thing about it. And you're performing. You're a one-man band. You're like the dude with the tambourine on your leg. You got the harmonica with the thing around your neck. You got all these maracas attached to your, you know what I mean? And you're hitting the drum. But yeah, man, it's dope, dude. I dig all that.
But I gotta say too, though, it doesn't even have to be with all that either, because, that's the part that is cool about being a beatboxer too, is that really, you just need to be there. So there's been lots of shows where I didn't have nothing, no pedals, no music behind me or nothing. It's just me and a microphone, and you just have fun with it, and that's the main thing, is just having fun with it. If you have a good time, I think that other people catch on to it, or at least that's the way it is for me. Every time I get on stage, if I just have fun, if that's my primary objective is I'm just going to have a good time, then it always just seems to go smooth.
Yeah. Well, again, man, there's so many things that come to it, but in the end, if you up there having fun, people are going to feel that. And I think at the very least, they're open to liking you more, and accepting you for what you're doing rather than whatever preconceived notions they might have. So that's shit. Hold on a sec. Damn it, now I gotta write it down. Hold up. 14:30. Cough. I used to edit, but I don't no more. Only what I need to. So, yeah, man, that's what's dope, dude. That's what I feel, the genuine, you up there having fun. I mean, shit, even if I ain't really feeling you, I'm feeling you, because you up there having fun, When it comes to the beatboxing, tell me tell me a little bit about Scribble Jam and your experience there, and getting into there, and did you come up second place in 2005? Was it?
Yeah. Scribble Jam was dope, man. I mean, that was some really. I mean, I don't know. It was a classic moment in time, and classic. It was a classic time period, man, for me. And Scribble Jam was dope also because it brings in all the different elements. You have like people doing graffiti and breakdancing and everything. It's like all in one big show. And yeah, in 2005, I came in second. I thought I should have came in first, but that's okay. I came in second. I happened to take out all the other cats in the U.S. and there's a cat up in Canada who got first. And so, I mean, at the time, that was a pretty big deal. That was like a really big battle, the biggest beatboxing battle that I know of at that time. And then since then, there's been lots of other. I mean, the scene has just blown up. It's huge. But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, like
I had a
anything
really
else.
good time.
Like anything else, time, people really use time and come up leaps and bounds, from technology to music to, martial arts to beatboxing. And it's changed a lot. But Scribble Jam in general, like you said, man, that is an important piece of hip hop. I wish I could have, even just attended one of those events back in the day. The homie No Can won one year and used to be there. All the way up to people like Juice and, Idea, Illmaculate, The Source. These are all people who... Yeah,
exactly. The Source, all of them, history. Yeah. I mean, it was amazing, man. And some of the ciphers after the show were unbelievable. Yeah,
what a trip, man. I found a video of the dude who you lost to, but I couldn't find any video of your side. I mean, he wasn't bad. I know what you can do, so I hear what he did, and I think it was cool, but I don't feel like it was like championship award winning, but whatever. Maybe I'd have felt different if I was there. But
well, it's all good, dude. Dude was good, you know what I mean? And at the time, I hadn't battled a lot before then, and like looking back, hindsight's always 20/20. Like looking back on it now, I've had people tell me like, dude, you should have said something at the end, like, ask for another round, but it's all good, dude. It was, I was bummed at the time. I was like, man, I wanted to win this. And now, I felt like, damn, I just lost this or whatever. But that's not the way everyone else treated it. Everyone else was like, dude, you just took out everyone else in the States. And I felt like,
in the world,
like a hometown hero when I came back to San Diego. Everybody was like, yo, what's up, man? That was awesome. So it was cool.
So I met you immediately following that. I had my first show in San Diego around 2005. I'm sure by like my second or third show, I was rocking with Tribunal. And I don't know how we started. I guess probably the Honey Beehive always ciphering over there and doing shows over there, and then that's probably how we connected and started chilling and became friends. But it was around that time, and then moving out here a little later and stuff. But that's crazy, man. Damn, I wish I would have been there just ever. So
yeah, it was pretty dope.
How'd you get into like the digital marketing and graphic design and web design and everything that you're doing these days as far as that side of things?
Well, so I told you, like, one of my uncles was like a drummer, right? So I had another uncle that was a painter, and I used to watch him paint when I was young. And at the time, he was doing a lot of oil painting, and so, I mean, I thought that was really cool. And I started doing my own art, like visual art, and I had a lot of fun with it. And I knew pretty early on that I wanted to do some type of commercial art, something that where like I could use my artwork and infuse that somehow with some kind of job where, I can use my art and still make money at it. And so that's kind of what I envisioned that I was going to be doing pretty early on. And that and rocking stages, honestly, like both of them kind of went hand in hand. Like, those are both the things that I was interested in, music and art. And so, I got a scholarship to like a little art school where, when I used to live I lived in Fullerton at the time, and there was something in class where they were like, if you write some essay about why you want to be in this art school, you might win a little scholarship or whatever. So I was like, okay, cool. So I wrote up some paragraphs and told them, hey, look, I want to be a commercial artist and I want to make money making art. So, let me win your scholarship. and it worked. And so like, that was a pretty, that was a good little like
motivation
push when I was younger.
Yeah.
Because it was finally a chance for me to be in a room where we were all about making art kind of on a serious tip for a short period of time, but it was super helpful. And then after that, I realized, okay, I really like doing this, so I'm going to keep doing this. And I ended up going to different schools. Like I went to a local school in Virginia called the Fairfax Institute of the Arts. It was like a summer program thing there. And then I went to another one at Carnegie Mellon, and that was a design focused one. And then I went to college in New York City at the School of Visual Arts, SVA. And I studied computer art because by that point in time, now like digital art is exploding. Now people are making movies with all kinds of crazy characters and stuff. You got like the Terminators and the Toy Stories and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, this is really cool. I want to get involved with this somehow. So when I was in college, I majored in computer art, and it was with emphasis in 3D animation. And so originally what I thought I might be doing is like working on movies and stuff. And I graduated, and that's right around the time when the web just kind of blew up, and I just got bit by the whole web bug.
Right.
And started making websites and started learning more about how companies could market their things online. So that's kind of how it evolved.
And then coming into like ads and where you're at right now, like, I mean, can you explain what you do and kind of like what it means to basically any business on the web? I mean, it's important. It's more than just having a website that looks nice and that's functional. Some people can't even get those two things right. But aside from that, there's more to it. Hello, I'm on the web. I'm on the internet. Oh, well, there's a billion other sites. Thousands of people who do the same exact thing, and their website might look better than mine's. Maybe it doesn't, but how are they more popular than me? How come when you type in exactly, my business, other people pop up, things like that, like getting into that and explaining kind of like the importance of it to everybody.
Right. Well, so first it started off for me making like websites. So I've made a whole bunch of different websites on different levels, everything from just giant websites that I'm working like a quality control type of position to being the graphics guy, to being the guy who's coding it, to being the guy who's doing a little bit of everything. And so while making sites, over time, and it's changed quite a bit from when I started, like I literally made my first website in like Microsoft Notepad, just coding it from scratch. And then things came along like Dreamweaver let me put together sites a lot more easily. And then that kind of evolved into where they have the, CMS, content management systems like today, where you have WordPress and Drupal and Joomla, and there's a whole bunch of them, but they let you put together the site a little bit more easily. So during that process, with the companies that I've worked with, I've been up against those same challenges. Like, okay, great, we got a great looking website. Now what do we do with it? So I had to learn a lot, and mostly just like online. Like that's the best resource.
Teaching
you know,
yourself.
there's so much free material out there.
Yep.
You can really learn how to do amazing things if you have the patience to go through it and to just like learn it. And so I started learning about search engine optimization. I started learning about lead generation. I started learning about ways that you could make a site convert better. And, you know, at my previous job, I was a marketing manager for 2 different companies. So I was in charge of a lot of different things, from their websites to their trade show posters to email campaigns. So that really gave me a broad perspective of how a company uses their marketing efforts for them to make money. And it's not just one place. It's kind of like a holistic thing, and everything needs to fit in. So that's where I really started learning about branding and brand identity and positioning. And, you know, it's gone on. At the moment, I'm the chief strategy officer at an agency called Flashpoint Marketing. And, basically I would consider myself to be a cross between like a marketing technologist and a digital strategist. So I use different platforms and connect them together. That's kind of like the marketing technology side of things. And then I put together campaigns for our clients to get, you know, to help their businesses get seen and get found and grow their sales. And so that's where the whole digital strategy side of it comes into place. And like you were mentioning, you know, you have a website, it's all beautiful, and it's like, okay, well, where is everybody? So, you know, that's a common scenario. So that's kind of the area that I come in and see what's the needs first. You know, we always start with like, what is it that needs to happen, and then how are we going to make that happen?
Do you feel like your time moving around so much and going from school to school or city to city, state to state, I mean, it's not like you moved from, you know, San Diego to Orange County to LA. You moved, you know, you were in Virginia, you were in New York, you've been in San Diego, you've been in, where'd you say, Kansas? Like, you've been in very different Texas. Climates, very different people.
Yes,
do you feel like that's helped you, I guess, just kind of get to a certain level in your career, specifically when you get a new job and you're leading teams and getting people to follow? Because a lot of times it could be hard getting people to fall in line when they've been there for a while, and here's this new guy who just kind of pops up where they're at, and maybe they feel a certain type of way about it, and you got to get in there and kind of earn their trust and respect a lot of times in order to get them to do what they need to do for whatever project you may be leading or whatever the case. How do you think that's kind of helped you just in general in your career?
I think it has, yeah. And I mean, it really comes down to, I think, just being comfortable being yourself. And, you know, there's no need to try and like act like this or that. You know, if you're like, because I've been on both sides of it. I've been the one who's like implementing everything and putting everything together. So basically like doing all of the work, the grunt work, so to speak, you know, making everything get connected, like doing that. And then I've been on the other side where I'm guiding the strategy and the team, and there's people who are specialized in different areas that are doing their part. And on either side of that, it's just really like, just be real with people, you know. That's my feeling. Is just as long as you're real with people, like, it goes a long way. People can really sense when you're trying to act a role, you know, like, oh, I'm going to act like, you know, I'm the man and I'm going to tell everybody what to do and all that. You know, that's people see through that. And not to mention, yeah, you can end up losing out if you kind of have that perspective, because you don't get to hear as many ideas. Like, I try to keep an open mind all the time because I don't know everything. So, you know, like, I want to learn from everyone. And at the end of the day, the success is not gonna be measured by how you know, how any just one person did their job. It's going to be measured by how the whole team did the job and what the results were. So, you know, no one person's going to take all the credit for that. It's a team effort. So you got to kind of play well with teams. And I do think moving around a lot helped me to do that. It helped me to get familiar with different types of people's personalities and, you know, how to work with them. And I do think there are some strategies behind that, you know. You kind of, from my perspective, I've seen kind of like seems like there's two kind of motivating factors. Sometimes it's like, if something is so painful, then you take action maybe because you want to kind of get away from that. And then the other side of the coin is something is so like, it's something that you want to get or achieve. So then you push harder and drive harder so that you can get that reward, you know? So like incentive versus, it's kind of like the carrot and the stick, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, of course I've seen how some people like, respond to that, but there's no hard, fast rule. I think, you know, I think you just got to kind of be real with people and they appreciate that.
Before we get into the Q&A side of things, can you tell the listeners just some basic, easy, what are like some obvious things that people get wrong with their websites, some quick fixes that they could do, things to look for that could be easily fixed and be, you know, a small change, small adjustment you can make to a website, or just something you're doing on the net in general that could reap huge benefits?
Okay, yeah, definitely. I mean, of course, it all depends on what their website's set up to do. You know, whether it's like B2C, like business to customer, or consumer, or business to business, the B2B side, or like an e-commerce site. There's all different kinds of websites. But I would say one thing that all websites really should have is kind of like a foundation of how to measure what's going on with the website. Because if you can't really measure it, then it's hard to make decisions based off data. And that's where you really want to be, is you want to have data from your website to make decisions on so that you can make it better. So I would say to start off, you want to have some kind of tracking system like Google Analytics, for example, and you want to have that connected to your website and look at what's coming in over there, you know, and set up goals in analytics so that when somebody does something on your website that's important to you, you can track that and know how much success you're getting from whatever that is. So I would say Google Analytics is a good place to start. And I would say that you would also consider having some places for people to convert on the site. And when I say convert, I mean fill out a form or register for something or subscribe for something. Give the user some way to interact with you through the site. Obviously, you know, like a lot of sites start off with a contact form, and that's good. I mean, if you don't have one of those, you might want to consider it, because you can get a lot of stuff out of there, and it's easier if you only put your email address. You know, when somebody clicks on that, they got to go to another program now or another web page in order to email you. So it's nice to have a form on the site. I like to have a lot of different types of forms if I can, and make sure they're visible and it's clear to the user what they're going to get or what to expect.
What they're signing up for. Yeah, they don't
be
what
like, just signing up for.
Put your email here. You're going to get something from me.
Yeah, just be upfront with people. You know, tell them what's going to happen. Like, and also don't ask for everything unless, you know, whatever you're giving them merits that. You know, in marketing, we have content offers that we give to people. And, you know, if I just want to download your top 10 list, then I don't want to give you my email address and where I work and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's just overkill. Take my name and email, and then I'll download the checklist. But now if it's a big content offer with a lot of value to it, and maybe like I'm going to get like a lot of information out of this, and maybe even like one-on-one response from whoever it is that whatever the website is I'm interacting with, there's going to be some like human being that's going to spend time on what I'm doing. Now that's the kind of thing where you should ask for more. Now it's fair to ask for someone's phone number and, know more about who they are and but the exchange should be fair.
Yeah. If I'm like, this is my new single, shoot me your email, I'll send you the new single, compared to like, here's a whole album, it's on iTunes, I'm sending it to you for free. I want to know where you're at, where you're from, and things like that. So if I come to your town, I could let you know if you like the music, maybe you want to come and see me perform, things like that. I mean, even if you don't have your whole email thing hooked up right now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't start collecting emails and, getting in touch with your fans and supporters and possibly people who's going to be there for the rest of your life and responsible for you being successful, or at the very least living off of your art. You want to know where everybody's at, who's surfing on your page, and if you're slanging some merch, where people are purchasing it at, because those are also people that if they're wearing your shirt in their city, that's a possibility that more people in their city, possible fans, and having somebody out there who can spread the word about your music. Maybe there's one person in the boondocks out here in the country or wherever in the city, but they're really riding for you and what you're doing, and that's that person who could spread epidemic, start an epidemic for you. So if you're able to kind of zero in on that area, I think it'll allow you to really do some things. I mean, maybe somebody, you figure out who's kind of doing what you do out there. If you make hip hop music, you want to see who makes hip hop out there, somebody who kind of falls in line with your style. You guys maybe do a song, reach out, do a song, and kind of take it from there. And sometimes it's as simple as that, and that's how you start spreading and you getting that love. But you can't even find something out like that if you don't have a tool like Google Analytics to find out where these people are from, or like if you could get them to sign up for a mailing list and say where they're at, things like that. There's just so many different ways. So the whole point is, it's more than just having a website or a Twitter page and a 2-sentence bio. But anyways, man, so you were saying aside from Google Analytics, is what else is a good tool?
I would say first, make sure that you have Google Analytics connected to Google Search Console, because that will help you identify problems if there are any on your site. And it will also give you some indications as to what people are searching in Google to find you, so you can look at some of the top queries that people are running to find you in Google. So make sure that you have analytics connected to Search Console. And when you send out stuff on, whatever, from social media platforms to maybe email marketing campaigns where you're emailing lists of people, and segment those lists if you can. There's a lot of email programs out there. You could use something like a MailChimp or a Constant Contact to manage your email list, and try and segment those based on either regions or maybe types of products or styles of whatever, but find some areas that you can segment those lists so that you can target them, give them messages that are unique for where they're at. I mean, if you have a mailing list and you have like people that are in, I don't know, Cincinnati, then like when you send them a message, you can talk to them and let them know that you know where they're at. They'll appreciate that. And talk to them within context, So if you know that like this list is people that have been doing business with you for a long time, and they're like, your premium group or crowd or audience, then you can have messaging for them that's different. They'll appreciate that. But I was going to say, when you put out your message on different platforms and like through your emails, use UTM codes on that. UTM it stands for Urchin Tracking Module. Back in the days, there was this thing called Urchin, and basically it's owned by Google now, as I understand. But it's like if you just Google it, UTM codes, you'll see there's an easy way that you can make them, and you basically fill in some things so that when the traffic comes into Google Analytics, you know where they came from. So an example might be like, okay, I have mywebsite.com. All right. So a URL that has the UTM code on it may be something like mywebsite.com/source equals whatever, the medium equals whatever. Like, you get different parts of it. You can specify a campaign or wherever people are coming from. And so when you put those together, what happens is then you're able to see on your website not only how much traffic is coming to it and where people are going, but you get to see more details on where they're coming from. So if you send out your email, then you can tell how many people came to your site from that email, because you can see the traffic coming from that source. And you can be specific. So you can have different campaigns. Maybe you have a monthly newsletter that goes out, and one month, you get a spike of traffic from that newsletter that can tell you maybe, oh, whatever I did in that newsletter, I should do some more stuff like that because it got really good response. And if I wasn't tracking it with UTM codes, I might not have seen that. It might have just been in with all the rest of the traffic, and I wouldn't have known that there was more people that were coming in from this particular campaign.
Right. And would another way to do that would be like using URL shorteners, where it's like, say you use Tiny URL or something. You create one just specifically for this mailing list or something. Like if I'm going to do some kind of sponsor a Facebook post or something, I'm going to create a shortened URL specifically for that post. So anybody who goes there, which you'll be able to see, you'll know that they got there through this particular post. So it's kind of like a similar situation, right?
Yeah, it is. It's just that when you use a URL, and actually you can use them both. So you could have a URL with the UTM code on there, and then you can bring that into your shortener and make a short version of it. And in fact, I think Google might have even incorporated a shortener into their UTM code creator thing. So you can use them together. And the thing about the UTMs, though, are that they connect in analytics. So when you're in Google Analytics, you can see all that stuff. If you just were using like another program to do the URL shortening, then you need to go to that program to see it. So by doing the UTM code, it kind of gives you one place to look at a lot of different things. And I would also say you want to set up the goals on your site for various things. An example might be, let's say I have a bookings page, right? And I'm going to send out an email. I want to do like a bunch of shows up in the Northeast. And so I'm going to send out a bunch of emails to promoters in that area and send them, my press packet or whatever collateral I have. And I want them to come to my website and book a show with me through my bookings page. So what I can do is I can set up a goal that if you view this page, that's a goal. And then I can set up another goal that if you fill out the form and you go to the next page, which is a thank you page, that's another goal. So I can look at those and I can say, okay, well, so 50 people came to the first goal, which was looking at my bookings page. And then of those 50 people, 15 of them filled out the form. That gives me kind of an idea of how well that's working.
Right.
And then I can do changes on it to see how that affects things,
Yeah, like experiment maybe with a different banner or different verbiage to drive them to it, or maybe you're doing ads to put them to that page and things like that. So these are different ways, and then you compare the data.
Exactly. So we call that A/B testing.
Man, I'll be honest, like, this type of stuff is the real shit that you gotta be knowledgeable in order to maximize your return in this shit, because a lot of people are just missing out on potential fans and supporters because they don't think this shit is sexy. You know, it's kind of simple as that, and that's totally fine. But you need to understand there's a list of things, no matter what level of success you're at in this game, or every game for that matter, there's a list of things that you need to just pay for somebody else to do for you. And there are different factors to which you decide to do that. You know what I mean? Think about, you could do it yourself, but maybe you just don't have the time for it, or you could do it yourself, but somebody else could do it better. Is it worth this amount of money to have somebody do it? You got a list of these things. You should, at least. You prioritize those lists based on how much money you have, however you set aside your budget, and you decide. And this is one of those things that you need to have at the top of your list if you really want to get these people coming in. I mean, I understand all that organic growth, and that's necessary, but that is a separate thing. Don't think that doing something like this is anti-organic. It's a whole different thing. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, like, this type of shit is organic growth as well. Like, don't get caught up thinking organic means you don't do shit. That's just some excuse lazy people use. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, okay. So in the search engine optimization realm, SEO, when you're looking at that, like, organic search is really where it's all, like, that's where you want to start with, because I mean, you want to be able to rank well organically. And so to me, when I hear organic, right, then to me the flip side of that is paid ads,
right? Which
is a whole nother thing, where you're paying for advertisements and you're trying to drive traffic, or you're trying to get conversions or make sales off of advertisements that you're running. So to me, those are like the kind of the two big realms. And in the organic side, that even has its own breakdown. So, like, you're talking about organic SEO, you have what you call on-page, and then you have off-page. So on-page SEO is like your actual website, what the content is on that website, what keywords you're using. Hopefully you think about the type of keywords that people are going to be searching to come to you, and we can talk later about strategies about getting those keywords, but you want to have those on the site. That's the content. You also want to have the architecture. It needs to be built well. So it needs to be like, you want Google to be able to index it. So you want Google to be able to crawl it. So there's a file called the robots.txt file that allows search engines to basically crawl your site. So you want to make sure if you launch a new website, or if you do some big change, you want to make sure that your robots file isn't blocking Google from caching those pages, because Google will come through and look at your whole website, and you want Google to be able to cache that, meaning have a version of it ready to go. So if somebody types in something and it matches the keywords and the content and stuff on your site pops up because Google knows about it, and if you block Google with your robots file, then it won't know about it. So, there's things like that. The architecture could also be how fast it loads. Is it mobile responsive? It's got to be mobile responsive today. I mean, this is 2017. If your site ain't mobile responsive, get it there, because you really need that.
That's majority of the people, especially when it comes to music. People are listening on their phone. You know what I mean? People are surfing your page on their phone. People are buying stuff from their phone. So not just, it works on the phone too. No, get something that's specifically for the phone. If you got to choose one or the other, choose the phone. Even the iPad, they might be on the iPad or their tablet, but I mean, the phone, you got to get it. And then when it comes to, as far as like the ads, I mean, the thing that used to be that free organic, growth, these social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, things like that, in case you haven't noticed, they're pushing you to make ads. You're posting shit and your best friend who you talk to every day ain't seeing it. First of all, I seen somebody post something about it, and it kind of happened to me too. Like, people are throwing out shots at their friends for not responding to their posts or seeing their posts and not liking it. Now, this shit is corny to begin with, but they don't realize, I know, it ain't like you're asking for support on something. You're saying some bullshit and you're mad because somebody's not, liking it or commenting on it. Well, anyways, Mr. Petty or Mrs. Petty, they're not seeing this shit. They're just not seeing this shit. Mark Zuckerberg needs you to pay money to for all your friends and even the people who are liking your artist page to see this. He needs this money so he could kick more Hawaiians off of their land that's been handed down from, centuries. Anyways, shots fired. I think
well, hold up though. You know what though? But though you can also look at the flip side of that too, because yeah, obviously, Facebook is a business. They want to make money, right? So that's a given. And so that they're going to do what helps them make money. But at the same time, don't think that you can't make money off of their platform, because their platform has crazy reach, big reach, and you can target people super specifically by where they're at, how old they are, what they're interested in, you can really target people. So if you are doing something that appeals to a certain kind of crowd, then you can use that tool. And yeah, it costs money, but I mean, that's the way marketing works. It's a return on your investment. So, and that's the key. So you got to be able to measure what that ROI, what that return on investment is. And if you get that down and you're making money on it, then, it may cost me a couple dollars, but look at the money I make coming back from it. It's well worth it.
The same thing people have been saying for years. Artists are often mad because the promoter makes X amount of money and they don't feel the promoter deserves it. Well, okay, let's start with how much money did you make and are you happy with that? Okay, you made more money than you normally would, but you're mad the promoter also made a lot of money. Okay, well, if you didn't go with that promoter, how much money would you make? You know what I mean? So there's to a certain extent, who cares what Facebook is making if the ROI is in your favor? If you're benefiting from what you're doing, don't worry about who's getting that money, because you need to worry about you're getting that money, and that's it. You know what, man? That's a good place to stop. Let's go to a break and let's get back. Status Escalate Podcast. What's going on? It's your man Kahlee. Yo, raise your hand if you ever listen to an audiobook. Now, if you raise your hand, I hope someone's looking at you funny, because what the hell you raising your hand for? I can't see you. Anyways, audiobooks literally changed my life, man. I don't have time to read as much as I'd like, and when I do, my mind drifts and I forget what the hell I was just reading. I've downloaded a bunch of audiobooks over the past couple of years through Audible, mostly self-help and informational titles, but others as well. Definitely helped me mature and gain knowledge in different aspects of business and life. See, Audible's got over 180,000 titles to choose from. If you go to audibletrial.com/SEP, you get a free audiobook of your choice. Anything out of their huge library of books and more. If you want to know more, feel free to hit me up. Holla at me at any social media platform at Kahlee310. That's KAHLEE 310. And I'll tell you some books that I still listen to on the reg, all from Audible. Just go to audibletrial.com/SEP for your free audiobook. Now let's get back to the show.
I put in work and watch my status escalate.
Status Escalate Podcast, we back. Me and my man Brent Campbell. I call him BeeHive. Sometimes I call him Brent Hive. What's going on, my man?
Chilling.
We're getting into that. Good. We're getting into that cerebral talk.
Yeah, man. I like to geek out on this stuff,
Yeah, I feel you. I like to have you geek out on it while you're doing my website. That's what I want.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
we can do that.
Let's get into these Q&As now. As I was explaining to you earlier, the Q&As is about the people. Getting into your mind. You're great at what you do. I know you to be a success at it for quite a long time, as well as your musical side of things. And, you also do a bunch of other things we haven't talked about. Just, you're like a Renaissance man and shit. So the answers to these questions could possibly help anybody else who wants to do some of the things you might have your hand in, or just their own thing that got nothing to do with it. But this we're gonna help some people right here. This is like a therapy session. That's what it is. So let's start off with can you tell us your daily routine?
Daily routine. Okay, well, So during the weekdays, like Monday through Friday, it's a little bit different than on the weekends. But yeah, so it always starts off with a shower. I get out of bed. I like to take a shower, get clean, and then during the week, I think the first thing that I usually do when I sit down and start working is look at what's going on today and get a sense for the agenda for today and what's going on, and that could change quite a bit from day to day. One day I might be on the phone a lot or in a lot of meetings talking to clients, and other days I might be working on projects and actually putting stuff together or working with the team. So that's kind of how the weekdays go. On the weekends, I like to take a little bit of time and chill out. I like to draw and paint a little bit on the weekend, just to get my creative juices going. And I like to listen to music and hang out with friends, So that's kind of like my routine. I guess it's not like super planned out, but I'd like it to be.
Yeah, but I know I'll be like, hey, what you doing tomorrow? I got this show like 2 hours away. You want to do it?
Yeah, because that's happened, and
that happens every single time. I was talking about myself.
Go with the flow.
Yeah, I'll still call you, but I'll also try to call you ahead of time for the future. Do you have any life hacks?
Life hacks.
Just some things that make life easier for you. You discovered it a couple years ago, and since you have, like, wow. I didn't know those things on the side of the foil. You're supposed to poke those things in, and it helps the foil roll. You know what I'm saying? Could be something like that.
I've seen a bunch of those. So I've seen a ton of those on YouTube, man, and it's hard to say which ones are the best because there's so many.
Those things are addicting. I can't get in there, but anything, it don't got to be something like that, really. Just something that kind of keeps your day to day moving smoothly.
Well, so there's one thing, and I'm not going to claim that I'm the man at this or anything, but I would say that it helps things go more smoothly when I've done it, which is that I like to put things in my calendar, like all different kinds of stuff in my calendar.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of different things that I'm juggling, a lot of tasks and a lot of things I need to remind myself about. And so I really like to take advantage of the calendar feature,
I like the way you
kind of plan out a bunch of stuff. And even if I don't do it, it's not the end of the world. But by me having it in there, it just is like a reminder. And if I'm not going to get to it today, at least I can move it over to another time. But it keeps me conscious of these things I need to do or that I'd like to do,
Right. Yeah, I feel you. Same with me. I like the way you said it. Like, it really helps when I do it. You know what I mean? Me too. I feel you.
Yeah.
I need to do it more. What are some daily obstacles you deal with?
Daily obstacles, man. So I guess from a work perspective, there's a lot of things going on at once. So there's a lot of like juggling things. So there's a lot of times where I gotta make calls on what's most important for me to focus on right now.
Yeah.
And so
prioritizing.
Yeah. And obstacles, obstacles, I don't know. It depends on how you look at them too, because I think the perspective on the obstacles frames it for you. Yeah. So, when something happens, it doesn't always have to be a bad thing. There's different ways of looking at it. And I try to look at it just like information without, having a good or bad feeling. Or if I do have a good or bad feeling about it, I try to recognize that that's just the way I feel about it. But what's going on is actually, it's just facts or information,
Sometimes if
take
you
it
look
one
at
step
it,
at a time.
yeah, if you look at it like it's just binary code, it kind of takes the emotion out of it sometimes. Because I mean, like you said, it's an
Absolutely.
obstacle is an obstacle. A banana peel is an obstacle. You can't slip on that shit. But if you see it, it don't take much to just hop over it or step to the side. You know what I mean? A lot of times
Well,
it's
you know,
banana
yeah,
peels.
that's true. And I saw a life hack where you can take the end of the banana and you peel it from the other side, so you hold the stem.
Hey, ever since I heard that's how monkeys do it, I'm not doing it any differently. Yo, side note, and I will put this in the notes. You ever seen the he's like a baboon or something, looking like Rafiki, and like they give him a little banana, and he like hits it on his stomach, and he like shoves it in his face all fast. Oh man, it'll be funny when you watch it because somebody is like commentating. There's somebody commentating on it, and he's pretending like he's the baboon. You just got to see it. I'm gonna put it in the notes. It's totally off subject from this, but man, is it funny and entertaining. All right, we're gonna get to the next one. Give me an example of a failure turned success.
Jeez, hold on. Let me think about that, man. I don't really know. It's hard to say, man, because I kind of feel like, aren't all failures like, don't they all kind of turn into success? I mean, because you learn from things. Like if it's a mistake, I remember one time I was interviewing for a job, and I said, I don't exactly know what the question was, and maybe it wasn't even an interview now that I think about it. But there was somebody that I knew who used to get excited like every time he messed up on something. He would be like, oh yeah, and he'd get excited about it. I was like, how are you getting all happy about this? Like we just screwed up, and now you're getting excited, dude. This ain't good. Like we're gonna have to redo this now. And I remember him telling me, he's like I love mistakes, and he's like I wish I could make more of them, because every time I make a mistake, I learn something. And if I never make any mistakes, I don't learn anything. So anytime I make a mistake, I know I'm learning something for that. And, I don't know that you really don't learn anything unless you make mistakes, but I do know that the mistakes that I've made have taught me a lot. And so, it's all the perspective on it.
Yeah, you definitely don't have to make mistakes to learn.
All my failures, in a way, have been a success, because had I not failed in those ways, I wouldn't have learned the lessons that I learned from those. And those lessons have been what has allowed me to do better and to get better at whatever it is that I'm, working on or into.
Yeah, you got to have that whole silver lining mind state, because like you said, man, there's always something to be gained from every experience in life, period. And it might not be what you wanted, the outcome that you wanted, but the end result can still be manipulated if you decide that you want to take something from it and use it in your future. You know what I mean? So I agree. I feel you. What do you do to ensure execution, whether it's an idea or a task, whatever it is?
So to make sure that the execution happens right, I try to look at things from a big perspective first, and then kind of focused on the details afterwards, after the big building blocks of whatever it is are put into place. So in artwork, if I'm drawing, a figure or something, I would start off with big, the rough shapes, kind of circle thing for the head, and another kind of circle block area for chest or something. And I build out the building blocks first, and then, make corrections on those bigger pieces, and then get to detail. So that kind of applies to a lot of different things. Like if you're making a website, I would say start off with what your bare minimum needs are first. Like we call it a minimum viable product, your MVP. Do that first, and then refine it and use a process of continuous improvement to get it to where you want it to be. Because if you start off by doing the one little complex thing that is a minor part of the bigger picture, then it's, you end up with I don't know. I feel like for me, I'll end up with a more disjointed project when it's done.
Mm-hmm.
And in a musical sense, I guess you could look at it like starting with the essence of the beat first and then add all the extra stuff onto it. You know, pick your tempo and have some idea of what, you know, how that beat is going to feel, and then let that drive all the rest of the stuff afterwards.
I'll take it further and say, you know, wanting to exercise and get in shape, but knowing that I'm discouraged and don't want to do it. You know, I just went out and said, hell, I'm going to sign up for these classes that I'm about to start training. You know, it's been 15, 17 years since I trained, and I'm about to jump back in there. So here, boom, free month, dope. The free month covers, you know, how much money I pay for my gi and, you know, whatever equipment that I needed for that shit. And then now I'm going. I've only been there for like 4 classes in like the last 3 weeks because that's my schedule. I know that's going to change as I get better at juggling. But the whole point is I'm taking it a step at a time. I mean, I can't expect to just jump in and be training 3-4 times a week right off top. I don't got the time or the energy for that, especially the energy. But, you know, there's people who want to run marathons and they ain't exercised, you know, a day in the last 10 years. Yo, why don't you just focus on walking to the street? Tomorrow you walk to your neighbor's house. The next day you walk to the corner. The next day you walk around the block. You know what I mean? Or whatever. You know, like you said, you got to build them blocks and make sure that they, you know, build with good mud, or else they're going to fall apart. Your foundation is going to fall apart. Don't get so caught up in, you know, your successful your first try being the successful, you know, everything you wanted off top. So I like that, man. What you said about you know, drawing the circle for the head and kind of, you know, the shapes and refining it and getting to where you want to be. I think that's a really good way of looking at it, especially if you're someone who's kind of discouraged and see it, you know, you get to that MVP and just what you need and take it from there, man. Maybe that's all you could do for that time. You could come back, revisit it and make that website better, or make, you know, whatever you're doing, you know, look at it literally or as a metaphor, because that's how I'm seeing it. That's a good one, man.
Yeah.
Do you have any rules for collaborating with someone or partnering with someone or just working with somebody in general?
Rules? Well, I mean, I don't know if they would be necessarily rules, but I think that it should be fun.
Right.
Because if I'm not vibing out and having fun and it doesn't feel like, if it just doesn't feel right, then it ain't, you know, it just ain't worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I would say rules, because like structurally, that's kind of one of the interesting parts about collaborating with other people is like they have a different perspective. So I wouldn't really want to set up too many rules, because I would want to see what they come with, so to speak. I mean, in general, when it comes to music, you know, I mean, obviously I'd like to listen to it and be involved and have input. You know, otherwise it's not that interesting to me, you know. And then in a work environment, you know, I have to feel like it's a good exchange and a fair exchange in order for it to be effective. But I would say the main thing is just have fun, you know, because I think that kind of guides a lot of it for me. Because if it feels right and it feels like it's gelling, then that's good.
And again, when it comes to the finished product, I think a lot of times, especially in art, you can feel the vibe. I mean, that's the whole thing, is you can feel the vibe. So if they was having fun when they made it, you know, chances are that's going to help somebody enjoy it when they're taking it in. Can you give me a book recommendation?
Book recommendation, man. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, I got a book. It's a cool book, actually. The homie Bowden told me about this book many years ago. What was that?
I said, shout out Bowden.
Yeah. So it's called The Spiritual Practices of the Ninja, Mastering the
I knew
Four
that's what you were
Gates
going to say.
Freedom.
Sorry,
It's
spiritual.
by Ross Haven.
Tell me again. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's the spiritual practices of the ninja, mastering the 4 gates to freedom, and it's by Ross Haven.
Tell me about it. Tell me a little bit about it. Kind of tell me some of, just a general idea of what it's about, and maybe something that how it kind of changed you and benefited you.
Well, I think that so it talks about a lot of things, man. And I know I'm not going to do it justice really by trying to sum it up or anything. But I will say, for me, what I got out of it was kind of a different perspective on how one can be connected to this universe in some ways to move themselves forward. And I think for me, it helped me to kind of look fear in the eye and really get past any kind of blocks that are in front of me. And there's some talk about doing some different types of rituals and stuff, and it's a good book, man. I don't know. I don't want to try to sum it up too much or give people too much of a impression on what it's about, but it's basically about doing whatever, Walk on fire, man. Oh. Breathe underground, fly, don't. It taught me not to have any limitations, on what I believe is possible. Because, so there's things that that you know, right? And then there's things that that you don't know, right? So those are 2 categories right there, right? But then there's a whole nother category of things that you don't know that you don't know. And so... And you don't know that. It's
right there, yeah.
It's just open, for me, it helped me open myself up to things that I didn't know about.
It sounds funny. I know what you're saying, though. It's dope. I'm interested. If I can find it on Audible, the link will definitely be in the show notes for for the audio book, and I'll throw in the Amazon link or whatever to cop it. Dope. Yeah, I remember when going to your house and you kind of being hype on it. I don't know if it was just you reading it again or you had just gotten it, but I remember you were into it, telling me about it and whatnot. So that's dope. Can you give me, this is what I call the top 3. Give me 1 do, 1 don't, and 1 must have.
Okay. 1 do. Okay, 1 do, drink water.
Good one.
Yeah. Stay hydrated, drink water. Just do that. And then don't hate. Just don't. Don't hate on it. Don't hate, man. Learn, improve.
Use the energy. Use the energy you used to hate to make yourself move forward.
Exactly. And then must have. Would say attitude, man. Positive attitude. Keep a positive attitude, even in face of the circumstances where maybe it doesn't feel like it's positive. Just look at it as information and keep a positive attitude. Open up yourself to possibilities and opportunities. So stay positive.
I hear you. All right, man. Well, that's about it. This is one more thing that I want to ask. Can you leave the listeners with words to live by?
Words to live by. Yeah. So I'm sure you've heard about the golden rule, right?
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah. So the golden rule is to treat others as you would like to be treated, right? So I think that's good. I think that's a great start. But I would subscribe more to the platinum rule, which is to treat others as they would like to be treated. Not treat others like you want to be treated, but treat others as they would like to be treated. Tell me
some more. Because I feel like there's a deeper meaning. I think I know. Because, treat others how you'd like to be treated is more of it's a courtesy thing. You're not saying if you would rather have this, give them this. You're more like saying don't do things that you wouldn't want to have done to you. That's how I look at it. And I feel like what you're saying, treat people how they want to be treated. Why don't you take it from there?
Yeah, so treating people as they would want to be treated requires a level of empathy here, because now you kind of got to put yourself in their shoes. You heard the expression "walk a mile in my shoes."
Right.
Well, if you put yourself in someone else's shoes and you have an idea for this perspective they're coming from, then when you treat them as they want to be treated, it means that you're looking at it from their side as well, not just your side. Because the way I would want to be treated is coming from my perspective, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that, like, my history and my preferences and all that kind of stuff, that's like the way I would like to be treated. But if I treat someone else in that way, that may not actually match up all the time with the way they want to be treated.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when I see my homies, we give each other dap and we're like, yo, what up? And it's like, there's a little bit of energy. But if I were to just come to somebody else who is in a different perspective, and maybe they're not sitting in the type of, vibe that I'm in, and then I come at them like all excited and stuff, I might freak them out a little bit. So it's like, treat other people as they want to be treated. It kind of goes on a wide range, but yeah, that's
like you said, empathy. It's a courtesy thing. You know what I mean? I feel exactly what you're saying. I've never even thought about it like that, but it's really interesting having the courtesy to understand what state people are in. You know what I mean? Somebody loses somebody special to them in their life, and the obvious thing, especially if you have a good relationship with them or you love that person as family, friend, whatever, you just have sympathy for their situation, and you've been through it too. It may be real similar to your situation too. So you feel like telling them how you got through it is the way it's going to help them. You know what I mean? So you go and you genuinely want to help them, and everything in your heart at that moment wants to just get them out of that funk and that negativity that they're in. You need to just chill. You know what I mean? Maybe they want to hear what you have to say. Maybe they won't. They don't. But one thing's for sure, everyone's going to grieve differently, so you can't just expect them to do things the way you did just because it helped you. You know what I mean? And maybe it will help them, but maybe they're not ready. You know what I mean? Treat people how they want to be treated. I dig that, man. That's definitely a good one to end this on. Dude, I appreciate you coming on. Can you please tell the people how they could get in contact with you, find out more info about what you do, both of your lives, your secret identity as BeeHive, the beatbox, champion, and MC artist, and all the crazy shit you do, how they can hit you up, contact you, and whatnot.
For sure. All right. Well, so if you want to hit me up on like music stuff or whatever, like, personal, whatever, my Facebook is BeeHive Stings. So facebook.com/BeeHive Stings. If you want to hit me up on the work tip, and, that's BrentACampbell.com. BrentACampbell.com. You can hit me up on Twitter. It's XStrategyX. So my @handle is XStrategyX. And as a matter of fact, if you want to call me, just dial that on your phone. XStrategyX. And
nice.
Get me on the phone.
Boom. He dropped it on you too.
Yeah.
Like he just dropped the mic, but he's holding the phone. So yeah, I feel you, man. Is there anything you want to leave? Anything you got going? People could look out for. Been waiting for your record or something, musical piece that you're trying to work on forever. When can we expect something like that?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
Of course.
Oh man, yeah. So I need to get some stuff out there. I'm sitting on a few tracks right now. I probably have an EP that's really ready to get out, and I'm just in that process of continuous improvement. So I need to get that out there here pretty soon. There's so many little things going on here and there. I'm planning on doing some YouTube projects coming up soon.
Nice.
With some dancers This should be really dope. In terms of shows, you can find me around town all the time, but I don't think I have anything specific right now to plug. But there's shows going on all the time, so you'll probably see me. You can catch me outside of the show, on the sidewalk in the cypher. Yeah, what else is going on, man? I would say just, follow me up on Facebook, and I'll let you know when I'm doing my next thing.
Nice, man. And I'll keep the people updated with what we got going on, man. I appreciate you coming on. Stick around after we get on out of here. This is Status Escalate Podcast. This is my man, BeeHive.
Yeah.
We out. Peace to the colleagues. Yo, thanks for sliding through for another episode of the Status Escalate Podcast. It was good catching up with my brother BeeHive. We didn't have time to dig deeper into some essential pieces of info in reference to web growth and more, so next Wednesday we're going to get back with a quick in-depth episode about search engine optimization and some other tips to gaining exposure. Make sure you check out the show notes at 310music.net. Just type in SEP018 in the search box in the top right for all relevant links to my guest. This episode is brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/SEP to get a 30-day free trial and free audiobook. Choose from over 180,000 titles. Just go to audibletrial.com/SEP and sign up. Simple as that. Today's show is also brought to you by deadstockcloset.com. Deadstock Closet specializes in vintage gear and accessories of all styles and brands. Shop at deadstockcloset.com and receive your purchase iron, cleaned, and ready to wear. My folks at Deadstock Closet got your back. They taking care of y'all for sure. Use the coupon code SEPodcast at checkout and get 10% off your purchase plus an additional discount on your next one. Deadstockcloset.com. Vintage flying is straight to your doorstep. Big thanks to StatusEscalate.com. Status Escalate's a PR company whose purpose is to create awareness for you as an artist and expand your brand. My dude Stat over at Status Escalate's been spreading the word on hip-hop artists for years. Go to the contact section at StatusEscalate.com to discuss packages and rates. Let them know you heard about them through our podcast and get 50% off your first project. All at StatusEscalate.com. And of course, much love to the Platform Collection Network, the largest hip-hop podcast network in the world. Go to platformcollection.com for new music, new videos, and some dope podcasts. My brother Mighty Mud show pros and his new podcast, Pretty Fresh, which is pretty fresh. My homeboy Cookbook show, Really Though. The Crappy Awesome podcast with my Fresh State fam, Kill C. Ray and Mr. Arash. Of course, my other show, Proof of Life Radio, which has all the dope, fresh hip-hop over the last couple weeks, man. Definitely check that out. There's the Ghetto Blast with my man Ricochet. Life on the Road with 60 East, the orchestrated podcast, man. It's so much dope shit. You got to go over there and check it out. Make sure you go to Tumex Hologram Radio as well and see what's going on over there, man. Other than that, check me out at barsweekly.com and see what me and my man Muds One been up to. 52 weeks of bars, a new rap video every week. So go check that out. I appreciate it again, man. Thanks for listening, spreading the love, rating and subscribing to shows. Man, all that shit is the reason why we're getting more and more listeners every episode, so I appreciate that, man. I'll be back in a couple weeks with a new guest, but for now, remember, you can plan for success, but you can't reach it without execution. Peace to the colleagues.
I put in work and watch my status escalate.